Hey guys, it's Tamara Bennett from Southern Adornments Decor, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're not painting an entire door hanger. We're actually going to be talking about painter's muscle memory tips. And you're probably like, what? Muscle memory. It's a real thing. It is how our bodies remember to do things that we've done repetitively before. Specifically, we're going to be talking about how it applies to lettering. And I even have our Bandana Lola template handy and ready. And we're going to be tracing the word welcome toward the end of this video so that you can kind of practice how to paint this word if you're planning on painting it using the template. Perhaps you didn't purchase the kit from our workshop project and you're planning on just tracing this on the design old school using a template and painting it with a brush. And if that is the case, I've got some really great tips for you today that are going to help you practice that and get better with it. We're going to start on a mixed media pad with just some basic letters that I have traced out here, some words, and then I have a piece of cardboard that we're going to practice on next. And then we will trace the word welcome onto this cardboard because cardboard's really great to practice on because it's very similar to painting on wood. It's going to feel very similar. It's going to soak up the paint very similarly, and you can just throw it away when you're done. So it's really great to practice on. If you don't have cardboard, but you do have like some printer paper or something like that, that'll work too. Or cardstock. This is a mixed media pad. I bought it at the Hobby Lobby. We also sell journaling mixed media pads, like art journals in our shop if you need something kind of like that. The ones in our shop are a little nicer than this. They have like a solid cover. You could paint and decorate yourself. This one's an old one that I've had for a long time, and I just keep practicing and adding more lettering and artwork and things in it over time. So that's what I'm working with today. Drop me a comment. Let me know who's watching. Hey, Elizabeth. Hello, Judy and Laura. Good morning, Laurel. I want to start by saying, what is something that you do that you feel like you could do with your eyes closed? I'm talking like brushing your teeth, tying your shoes, perhaps crocheting a blanket. That's definitely not something I could do with my eyes closed.
You don't want me to repeat what I said not to do?
What?
Zip your fly.
My husband said you could zip your fly.
No, I said not to zip your fly.
Oh, not to zip your. That's for guys, though. That's a tip for guys. Ladies don't have to worry about that. So men, don't zip your fly with your eyes closed. Hello, Melissa. Hi, Sheila. Hello, Pam. Thank y'all for saying hello. What is something you feel like you could do with your eyes closed? First, I thought of tying shoes because Charlie is 10, and I swear that girl only just learned how to tie her shoes in the last year. And I tried teaching her 2 or 3 different ways. Her brothers tried teaching her 2 or 3 different ways. And it finally took her just trying the same way over and over and over again and practicing it for her to really catch on and get it. And now I won't say she's at the point where she can do it with her eyes closed yet, but she does seem to do it quicker and with more confidence. So she's progressing. However, I've been tying my shoes for probably 35 years now. So I can like reach down there and do it with my eyes literally closed and not even think about it.
You can shuffle cards.
You can shuffle out cards with your eyes closed. That's a good one. What else? Hello, Michelle. Hello, Diane. Hi, Debbie. Crocheting is a good example of something that I cannot do with my eyes closed, but I know a lot of people who can carry on a full conversation while their hands are working, and they can be doing all this stuff, and like they can watch a movie while they crochet, and it's because it's a repetitive motion that they've done so much that they don't have to think about. And if I practice it and dedicate the time to it, I could be that way. I just don't have the passion or desire to do that. Somebody on TikTok said they could sleep with their eyes closed. I would hope so. I would hope so. Although some of us can't sleep with our mouth closed. And so now we wear mouth tape at night.
My sister said that I used to sleep with my eyes open.
Yeah. Ooh, good one. Laurel said playing the piano. That's a really good one. It's definitely not something I can do with my eyes closed. My son is learning how to play guitar, and I don't think he's at the point yet where he could play it with his eyes closed, but he'd probably like to get there one day. Elizabeth says she loves crocheting. I'm trying to think of something else around here besides painting. And I'm not saying painting is something I could do with my eyes closed, but if I had to, like if this was like Blind Pictionary, I would rock that.
Cranium.
You know that? Yeah. Cranium. You know that game Cranium? When we play that, I'm the queen of Cranium. I will whoop your butt in Cranium. And it's because I'm such a creative brain. What?
Candy said, hey everyone, I can cut my hair by feel and a 3-way mirror.
20 years of owning a salon and doing hair. That's impressive, Candy. I can't even cut Charlie's straight hair very well by standing behind her. So I sent her to the salon this morning with my mom to get her hair trimmed. I do cut the guy's hair in my family, though. Hey, Joanne. Canletta, that's a really good one, too. She said typing. I can type without even looking. Like I can be looking over here and I can type a whole message. And it's because I took a class in high school that taught me how to learn the keyboard. And I got faster and faster at it. And now I can do it without looking. Some people can text without looking. I can kind of do that. I'm not nearly as good. Eat, that's for sure something I can do without looking. And that's dangerous too, because I can just keep putting chips in my mouth. And then I'm like, how many chips did I just eat? Lauren says we should do that on the cruise. Do what? Did I miss something? Or was it something I said? Oh, she's saying we should do cranium on the cruise. I bet. Oh. Or blind Pictionary. Like, can you paint a flower without looking?
That would be weird. A huge game of cranium.
Oh, don't say that, Tammy. She said drive. Just kidding. Yeah, a big game of cranium would be good. Yeah, cranium, it has a challenge in it where there's sculpture aids, and with your eyes closed, you have to sculpt something out of like Play-Doh type stuff, and you have to like make it and then get people to guess what it is. But I don't think, is there a version with your eyes closed?
Drawing too.
There's a drawing one and there's a sculpting one. And both of those, I think you have to do it with your eyes closed, but I don't know. But I'm really good at that game. Anyway, let's get back to the topic of today, which is painting muscle memory, particularly how it pertains to lettering. Lettering is one of those things that intimidates everybody, whether it's writing with pencil lettering or it's painting with a paintbrush, maybe even using a paint pen. So a lot of people opted to get our kit for our Lola Highland Cow Workshop because it comes with 3D lettering, which is going to make that so simple. But if you can't afford the kit or you're looking to challenge yourself a little bit, I'm hoping today's video can help you. We're going to start out by using just a very simple round tip paintbrush. Everybody should have one of these in their painting stash. It comes with the kit. So in the kit, you're going to get a pack of like 10 brushes. It'll probably have a brush that looks almost just like this. It's got short bristles. It's very pointed. It's great for doing lettering. So we're going to start with I'm going to use my handy dandy ice cube tray here. I'm going to put a little bit of black paint in there so that it'll show up well. I'm also going to water my black paint down just a little bit so it glides even better. So just a teeny bit of water in there. Stir that up with the bottom of my paintbrush. And then we're going to practice a few letters. We're going to practice an L, an O, and an M. And then we're going to put that together and make some words. I've got hi, home, love, and joy. And the reason I chose these words is because they have upstrokes, they have downstrokes, and they have curved strokes where you kind of have to like go around the H or go around the M. And so I'm hoping that this will help some of you feel more confident when you go to paint lettering. And then after we get done practicing on here, we're going to practice the welcome word from our Bandana Lola on a piece of cardboard. What are they saying?
Elizabeth said, you have definitely rubbed off on me. I saw a brush with entirely too much paint and I wanted to scream.
Okay. We're dipping the brush. I'm starting with a damp brush. So I have dipped this in water already and kind of brushed off the excess. This is how much paint I have on my brush. And I'm just going to start at the edge. Let me zoom in. There we go. Is that a little better? I'm going to start at the edge of this letter L, and I'm just going to pull up. Very, very little pressure. And your hand might shake a little bit. That's okay. If your hand shakes going up, instead start at the top and pull down. But don't press down on the bristles very hard. Just kind of keep very light pressure. And if you need to, you can do little short strokes like this to kind of smooth out little bumpy areas. Go over it again. And then when you get ready to go down the other side, you're going to pull and you're going to press. So I am pressing those bristles flat as I'm pulling them down. And as I come to the bottom of the letter, I'm lifting, lifting, lifting until I have the lightest little stroke. Okay. Something else that I want to point out when I'm doing this is there's not a lot of wrist action going on. If you'll notice, most of it is in the fingertips. I've talked to you guys about like how to paint a straight line and use your body to pull the brush back to have a nice smooth line. That's using like your abdomen and your torso to keep a smooth line. This is using more of a little bit of wrist, but much more just fingertip action here. So let's do the O, where I'm going to start right here at the center of the O, pull down with pressure, lift up. And I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to dip in a little bit of paint. And then now I'm going to consider, do I want to start here and keep going up? What do I feel more confident about? And this is going to be different for everybody. You might feel more confident starting up here and pulling it back down, because maybe that makes your hand shake to do an upward, an upstroke. And then you might feel like you need to pick it up, put it back here, and stroke down again and bring it up here. We're working on the pressure, the amount that we're pushing down that brush. And we're also working on like the fluid motion of it. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Muscle memory is when your hand starts to like know the motion and you don't have to like overthink every little curve and loop. So lettering is going to feel hard at first because it's new, but the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. Mary said, are we supposed to be doing this? Sure, if you want to be, or you can just watch right now, ask questions, and then come back and do this as homework later. This is not something you have to do, Mary, but if this is something you don't feel confident doing, I highly advise, and I remember you saying you were working on your hand lettering. So I'm going to assign you particularly, Mary, to do this as homework later when you have time. Get out a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard and just practice.
Did you already answer Janet?
No, I didn't. What did Janet say?
Janet said, my filter brush is spreading out badly. I've ran hot water over it, but is there another trick to help it?
So it sounds like she's got a brush that's kind of like going rogue and the bristles just are doing this right here. I've got one handy to show you. Let's see if I can hold it up on the camera. Is it going to focus? Maybe. Let me see if I hold it right here. Can you see how the bristles on this brush are splintering? Oh, you can see it better without my hand, maybe. I'm trying to get the camera to focus on my hand.
Here,
put something black under it. Here, maybe the cardboard would help.
Because it's blonde bristles.
Yeah, the blonde bristles are hard to see. But see how the bristles are like splintering? Boiling hot water can help that. If you dip your brush in boiling hot water and then, smooth it out, that can help. If that's not working, this one needs serious help. It's really bad. You may just have to ditch it. Or if you guys have some more tips, I know that you can take like Dawn dishwashing liquid. And after you've washed your brush, sometimes you can kind of like slick some over it. And that creates like a cast, almost like a gel cast. When how when we're making curly hair, you want your hair to dry with that cast. And then after it's dry, you can crunch it out. And so it kind of reforms those bristles or gives them a new shape. So maybe try that.
Joanne wanted to know, how do you know what parts to make thicker?
Okay, so for me, downstrokes are always thicker, and I'll demonstrate this with the letter M. So this part of the M is not really considered a downstroke. It's just kind of like where the letter's starting. It's kind of curving over and up. And then when we go down on the letter M, I'm pressing down, and it's going to be thicker. Now I'm going up to the next hump, and it's going to be thinner, and then pressing with pressure for the downstroke. So it's almost always when the letter curves down.
And Mary wanted to know, what brush exactly are you using?
I am just using a cheap little round tip brush. This one was in that, like the little 10 pack of brushes that you guys get when you order like the kits for our workshops. I wanted to use a brush that I know you probably have. Carrie says, is there templates to print off? My handwriting is like a doctor's. There are so many free templates online that you can use. In a moment, we're going to be using the template from Bandana Lola. That's a great one to practice with. Any door hanger template, you could use those to practice. I know a few people who have freehand lettering templates are Casey Hope from Pizzazz Art Studio, Jennifer Radin from Canvas Sign Designs, Danielle Stringer from Imperfect Dust. There's just so many. There's so many people who have freehand lettering templates that you could probably go right to their website and download right now. And some of those free templates are in our Painters Clubhouse. And so if you go to the Painters Clubhouse and go to the category for hand lettering, you can download them there. Sheila says, I'm watching you for homework later. So glad you guys are going to work on this later. Hello, Marie.
Brenda had said that she washes, going back to the brushes, she washes hers in Murphy's oil, and it helps to put the oils back into the brush.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, Murphy's oil soap is really great for washing out brushes.
And Carrie said she definitely needs help on working on her lettering, and thank you for doing this.
Yeah, I know a lot of people start out using a paint pen because that's what you're comfortable with. Maybe I should demonstrate one of these with a paint pen so you can kind of see them side by side and see the difference. But doing it with a paint brush is going to make it look a little bit more personalized, authentic. It's going to just give it a little bit of a personal flair. Let me find a paint pen and I'll demonstrate one with a paint pen so you can kind of see the difference.
And while you're doing that, what do you do when you have brushes that keep losing bristles as you paint? I mean, my main problem is with the large flat brush from the signature pack. It's losing bristles.
I would maybe take, I think you're talking about like a brush like this. I would maybe take like some pliers. Do you have any in your pocket? You almost do. Always do.
Yeah, I do.
He always has some kind of tool in his pocket. I'm like, he probably has some I could demonstrate with.
I do. I've got a bigger set over there.
It's okay. Small ones are good for ladies' hands. We put the lid back on this so it doesn't dry out. So if you have a brush that's like losing some bristles, take some pliers and just gently kind of squeeze. I'm not saying really hard, but just gently squeeze along here. Probably bigger ones than this, just so that they would go all the way across. But depending on the size of your brush, it might just need a little bit more pressure to keep those from trying to fall out. Okay, I wrote the word high over here, so I'm going to just trace it with a paint pen so you can kind of see the difference. So instantly, you can see that you can't get the change in thickness from a paint pen. You have to go back and add it. So I would have to like go back and make this, which is really great for beginners who maybe aren't confident with a brush. I just feel like it doesn't look nearly as good. Like the finished product to me, I like the way it looks better with paint.
Yeah. Deanna said that she painted your free spring door hangers. So cute and so much fun, but she was having trouble with the SVG files to upload to her laser. Any tips? Brandy Joe had said use DXF files, and that is a good way. If you're having trouble getting the SVG file over there, then a DXF file sometimes the DXF files will communicate a little bit easier with your computer and the program.
Something else I'll say is like when I did this brush stroke right here for the H, when you get to the bottom, like you have a tendency to want to go like this and like let it trail off. See how that kind of trailed off kind of funny? Instead of doing that, allow yourself, and you might have to just practice this type of brush stroke, is to practice, this is going to be a little messy, pushing down and then letting up pressure immediately so you don't have that weird trail off. And you might still have it a little bit at the beginning, but you can kind of take a brush and just kind of clean that up just a little bit so that you can come back and add the rest of the letter to kind of make it look smoother.
Elizabeth had a good suggestion in regards to that. She said that crimping tools for jewelry is good for working on brushes. That is, I've used those before. Laurel, I hope you say
Laurel. That's Laurel.
Laurel. My paint pens always splatter. Do you think it is due to the quality of the pens?
It could be. I
wonder if she stores them upside down, or does that matter sometimes?
I don't know. I've never stored mine tipped down, so that could be part of the problem. I've always stored mine with the marker lid up. So that could be part of the problem. It could also be like a fluctuation in temperature, like in where you're storing them. because I know like I have trouble a little
Yeah.
bit with some of my paints when they get warm.
The ink gets thinner, and so it's easier to come out.
Okay. See how the M and the E are almost touching here? I made a boo-boo, and I'll show you how to correct that when I get over here to the word love. What I did is when I was doing the downstroke for this E, I curved it outside the letter more than I should have and allowed it to get too close to the M. So you can prevent that by kind of doing that downstroke to the inside or outside of the letter. So I'm going to do the word love next. Going up with no pressure hardly, and then down with extra pressure. And that time I kind of curved it to the outside of the letter. So then with the O, I'm going to kind of just put the pressure right dead center on that pencil stroke. And then when I do the downstroke for this part, I'll kind of keep it dead center. So you kind of have to just look where it needs pressure, where you want the weight of the letter to fall. Again, centering it right up on that letter V. Now for the E right here, if I go to the inside, it's going to put the pressure, the weight of the letter further away from the V. If I go to the outside, it might crowd the V a little. But I think on this one, if I go dead center on the pencil line, it's going to be just right. So those are all things you need to consider when you're doing lettering. The amount of pressure you're using, where you're doing the brush stroke. Is it to the inside, the outside, or crowd, or like riding the center of that line? I got one more word we can trace here. Ooh, Candy's sharing a tip to rub them on dial soap.
Yeah, I was just reading that.
I haven't tried that one.
Yeah, reshaping brushes. I was taught to rub them on dial soap and reshape, then let them dry. And then Mary said, I think paint markers should lay horizontal.
Elizabeth said that the box says upright, so it may depend on the brand too.
I wonder if it makes a difference in regards to oil base or water base.
I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. I mean, I've always stored mine upright. I've kept them in their boxes, stored upright on a shelf over here.
I don't know. I've got all mine at the shop stored. What do you call upright though? I've
like
got my
cap up.
Yeah. Okay, then I've got all mine stored upright, but I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's just what I've always done. You're welcome, Danetta. I hope you found this helpful. Feel free to ask lots of questions because there's lots of things that I do just because it's the way I've always done them. And sometimes your questions help me unlock the like, oh, well, that's why I do, or it helps me like describe in a mechanical way what I'm doing.
And through y'all's questions today, I mean, I didn't know that about the dial soap. I'm gonna have to look into that.
It helps us all learn more.
That's kind of interesting.
Something cool though too that you can do to add more like personalization to your lettering is to just go back over it. Like after I've got all this traced on here, I can go back over it and add little, like I didn't add much variety in the weight of the letters on this one. So I can go back and kind of like thicken up even more and make those look a little thicker in some spots than others. If you don't want more weight, then that's called like monoline, where it all looks like it's the same weight. This is almost like faux calligraphy.
I always wanted to learn calligraphy.
Yeah, you always had pretty handwriting, period.
Yeah.
So
I didn't mind that either.
I added more weight to that one right there. It's trickier to add more weight because I added too much on this E right here. So if I wanted to go back and add more weight to this one, then I might have to kind of like pay attention to where I'm adding the weight so I don't crowd the word. So I put it to the inside of that H right there so that it didn't crowd it. And put it to the inside of the O. This one almost has enough. This one does not have enough. So there's room right here to add a little more.
Now, Pam Smith said, not about art, but I've been concerned and praying for you because you are in Kentucky and it is flooding a lot here. We've been really fortunate. We got 15 to
somewhere between 15 and 20 inches, but luckily our land drains pretty well, but there have been quite a few that were not as fortunate.
We're far enough south that it didn't hit us as bad as like Paducah, Kentucky, which is 40 minutes north of us. They've got much worse problems than we did have. Like the
They're right
Ohio
on the
River
river.
is nearly crested. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions before we move along to tracing our word welcome from our Lola template onto a piece of cardboard? I'm going to be using some graphite or carbon paper, shiny side down. I need an ink pen too.
I got one.
And then we're going to be tracing just the word. So I'm not doing the whole Lola template here, just the word. I'm going to just put it on my cardboard. And there's a couple different ways you can trace it. You can trace, no, I'm good. I like my little paintbrush pen. You can trace the inside and outside of the lettering, which kind of creates like an outline for you to paint inside of. And that might be best for some of you beginners. If you want to challenge yourself, I want to encourage you to try tracing down the center of each word just to get the bones of the word. Do you understand what I mean? So it's not the outline, it's the like inline, the actual lines of the word. So I like to think of it like creating the bones of the word. So I'm just going to trace up and down the center of each word. Don't forget the little serifs on the edge of the letters.
What's the serifs?
The serifs are the little like caps on the letters. That's what
I didn't know what that.
It's kind of font lingo. So if you see a font that says
that's on that one you picked out.
If it says the word serif, it means it has those little caps. If it says sans serif, sans S-A-N-S, then it means it doesn't have that.
And neither one of the well, I've been looking at fonts because I've got to do some plaques for Brett's wrestling team.
Yeah, like the awards for the awards banquet.
Yeah. So I did like a piece of MDF with a few different fonts, and I laser engraved them on there so that I could put it on the wall and I could look at it later on.
You'll have to show them that when we do our Friday woodshop update.
But there's like, I don't know if how recently y'all looked at how many different fonts there are. But there is like
online, like because there's thousands.
I don't know about online, just on Lightburn.
Even on Lightburn, there's probably 100 or more.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Okay, can y'all see that? It literally just has the bones of the word outlined. If I have a Sharpie here, I could even trace this for you. Here. I got one, so that you could see it a little better. It is a little tricky tracing on top of this cardboard that I'm using because it's got like the ridges in it. So it sometimes I was hitting a ridge and I could feel it. So I'm just tracing it with a Sharpie to make it easier to see. And sometimes that's a good thing to do even on your wood if you're getting ready to paint over it and you don't want to lose your lines. This Sharpie acts like it's running out of juice. It's getting the job done. Don't worry. I should have. Okay, let's grab our paintbrush that we were just using. This technically, hold on, before we do this, this technically is considered like a monoline font. Because do you see how the letters are not thicker in the downstrokes? They're actually the same. They're not thicker in any one spot. So this might even be easier for some of you who are a beginner to paint.
Like someone who talks monotone.
Monoline, though.
But someone who talks monotone.
Yeah. And so I almost wouldn't recommend a round tip brush to do monoline font lettering because your round tip brush depends on the amount of pressure you're putting down, and it can be hard to get the monoline look with that. So you could use a really small flat tip brush or I've got this little filbert tip brush. This one's in my signature brush set. I don't know if the brush set that came in their kit comes with a brush similar to this, but I would almost bet money it does. So I'm just going to use this one. It's 1/4 inch wide, filbert tip, meaning it's tipped. It's shaped like the end of your fingertip. And we're just going to I'm going to start by putting my little serifs on here. You can kind of turn the brush up on its like side to make those. And then just do brush strokes kind of down. And the hardest part here is going to be connecting those strokes. Because see how these are like almost like straight lines or slightly curved lines. And where they connect will be the trickiest part for you. So if you need to, you can even switch brushes in between strokes and use your round tip brush to smooth out those connections where they link up with each other to make them a little smoother. If you need to, you can use that round tip brush to clean up your serifs. My serifs are a little messy. Good afternoon, Susie. Okay. Sometimes I've got my brush up on its like tippy toes, and then sometimes I'm kind of bringing it down. So for these connection, well, actually, no, because this is monoline. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit more. Because this is monoline, I need to kind of keep my brush sort of facing down flat like this for most of the strokes. And I might have to change the position that my brush is going to be able to do that. Doesn't have to be perfect though. We're not trying to get the perfect monoline. We're just trying to make sure that the weight around the letter is almost the same with every stroke. And you will find yourself having to redip in the paint a little more frequently, especially if you're painting on cardboard.
It'll soak it up.
Yep. There's that little serif again. I'm going to start at the top of this and bring it down to the serif and then go around. So if you feel like it's a little skinny right here, I'm going to go back over it, pull this back over, and just think of it like you're pulling the paint around the letter, and we're not writing, we're kind of drawing the letters. You ever met those kids in class who were so particular about their handwriting? I can think of one girl in particular, and you know this girl. You probably didn't sit across from her in English class, but in high school in English class, she would always raise her hand and tell the teacher, slow down, because she was so focused on literally drawing each of the letters on her homework or on her classwork because she wanted her hand lettering to be impeccable, that she couldn't keep up with the teacher as he was teaching. And she'd be like, slow down. And I remember one day he looked at her and he's like, Jessica, we're not drawing our letters. We're writing them. No, hurry up and quit trying to be perfect. It was quite funny. So, but in this case, we're going to try to be a little more like Jessica, and we're going to draw our letters instead of writing them. We're taking our time to make each stroke count. And the more you do this, the more your hand is learning. Your muscles are getting comfortable with the fluidity of that brush stroke. You're just wondering if I made up that word, aren't you? You had this puzzled look on your face.
Fluidity?
Yeah.
No.
Oh. I was kind of wondering if I made that word up all of a sudden. Oh, the end of that stroke was a little messy. I had to clean that up.
Pam said you're lucky to have me.
Oh, I know. Likewise. You're lucky to have me as well.
That's true.
We both know we are very lucky to have one another. We've been best friends since high school. Stole him away from his guy friends. Okay, there we go. We did the whole word, and we did it all with a little filbert tip brush. So if we had done with this with a round tip brush, it would have looked a little bit more, it would have been thinner and thicker in places. So depending on the style you want, you might want to practice this with a round tip and with a filbert, maybe even with a flat tip, because the brush that works for me might not necessarily work well for you. You might find that you like another brush better than the brush that I usually use. So don't force it. Use the one that you feel like you get the best results with. Pam says, I practice with Crayola markers to practice my muscle memory. That's great.
Hey, that's a good idea.
I practice with a pencil a lot to kind of get that like muscle memory of how to write the lettering. And I'll even do it like while I'm trying to stay awake during a preacher's sermon on a Sunday morning. I'm like writing out the sermon notes and sometimes just focusing on drawing the word and I'll use a pencil so I can go back and erase it and correct it. And I'm still listening to what he's saying, but it's keeping my hands busy and practicing that muscle memory along the way.
Wanda says it does work. I am now able to use a paintbrush to do my letters. Before I was afraid to. and would use a paint marker. Now I use a paintbrush.
A lot of our Painters Clubhouse members are graduating from using just a paint pen all the time for their lettering to using a paintbrush. And I think that's a really great thing. If you feel like you've sort of like got the hang of painting door hangers and you're still using paint pens, but you're looking for the next thing to challenge yourself, this could be it. Now, if you're a beginner and you've never painted a door hanger before, I want to kind of challenge you to start here. This is where I started. I started here. I didn't start with paint pens. I didn't discover a good paint pen that I liked until I'd been painting for probably 5 years. So if you can start here, you'll already be ahead of the game. Marina said, you are being a Jessica. I totally am. Oh, goodness. Well, if you guys enjoyed this lesson and you want to take it a bit further with me and have more and more hands-on guidance, I want to invite you to join us for the Lola Highland Cow Workshop. That's the door hanger you see hanging up behind me. We're going to be painting this one next week on April 15th and 17th inside of a private Facebook group. It is just $10 to sign up. You're going to get access to 2 different templates, the Bandana Lola, the yellow one you see there, and Lola the Patriot, which is great for summertime and 4th of July. We're not going to be teaching both of these designs in the workshop. We're just going to be teaching Bandana Lola for the spring. So you'll get a matching supply list for both projects. You can paint Lola the Patriot on your own whenever you have time, or you can join us in the Painters Clubhouse and learn how to paint Lola the Patriot with us on April 28th. We will be painting that one inside the group. It's all happening in a private Facebook group next week. You can sign up now by commenting workshop or clicking the link up in the video description. If you're watching on TikTok, there's a link in my profile for the spring workshop. There is a kit, so you can sign up for $10. That's the cheapest way to do this. You can practice on a Dollar Tree blank or a wood round from the Hobby Lobby. Just print out the template, grab the paints that you have, keep it cheap, whatever you can do. Or if you want to make things a little easier for you, we do have a kit that you can purchase that comes with an 18-inch wood round, all the 3D words for the front and the back, which will kind of skip the lesson that we did here today. But I do think everybody should practice their lettering, even if you're using 3D wood lettering. It's going to come with the brushes you need, the printed templates, a supply list, the graphite paper. And the only thing it doesn't come with is your paint, but we do have a paint pack put together on the DecoArt website that is linked on the supply list. All you got to do is go over there, add it to your cart. You might need to add black and white to your cart as well if you don't have those colors, but other than that, you're going to have all the colors that you need for this entire project. Does anybody have any questions about this workshop?
Carrie wanted to know what are your favorite paint pens?
Currently, my go-to paint pens are Artistro paint pens. Preferably the medium and fine tip ones. There is a set, I've shared it on Friday Fab 5 a long time ago from Artistro. Yeah, it's over there if you want to grab it. It's the green box. See the one that looks kind of metallic? Nope, the one beside that. And it's got a dual tip on it. These right here are, this is probably a great set if you don't have any paint pens to start with. They're dual tip markers, meaning that one end of them, here we go. This is a good, there we go. This is a good visual. One end has the bullet tip 3.0 millimeter and the other end has a fine tip 0.77 millimeter. So the entire pen is multi-use. It comes with a lot of great colors. So it's dual tip. You just shake it up. One end of it's going to have your fine tip. The other end is going to have your bullet tip. So these are probably my favorite go-to ones for just having on hand, especially if you don't have any markers. And they are linked in my Amazon favorites. So I'll put the link to my Amazon favorites down below for those of you watching. If you want to go find them, they're in the crafting category. Tammy says, I just bought the pink paint brushes. Yeah, these pink paint brushes come in a set on our site. If you end up joining the Painters Clubhouse, you can grab the Painters Clubhouse starter pack. It'll include a set of these brushes as well, but you can also purchase them separately. They come with a cute little storage bag as well for travel. Have paints, will travel. Any other questions before we wrap it up? Thank y'all for joining me today. I hope you feel encouraged, inspired. Your homework is to go home, grab some brushes and paint and practice doing your Lola lettering on a piece of cardboard, or just practice words.
Or if you've got a whiteboard, like a white dry erase board.
But you can't use paint on that.
Well, yeah, you can't use paint, but
You could practice making letters, drawing the hand
doing-
lettering part of it.
doing the
Yeah.
hand motion.
But if you want to practice the painting lettering, I would advise cardboard. You know, everybody's got Amazon boxes stacking up somewhere. They can rip off some cardboard
That's
from
true.
that and
Yeah.
use that. Laurel says, do you use all the colors or should we just get black? If you can just get black, that's the color I use 9 times out of 10. I almost never use the other colors, but my daughter Charlie loves the other colors. She uses those a lot. Okay, guys. Thank y'all for joining me today. Don't forget to hit that share button and sign up for the spring workshop. I'll see you inside.